You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on the newamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. If you're listening live, it sounds like we made a big, exciting promise to give you this break, and then we're back in 6 seconds. But if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, it's a brand new program, so I want to reset this and introduce it to everybody. If you're out there watching us on YouTube, please click subscribe so that you can get our new episodes of the Unhappy Hour Sports Show and Agree to Disagree, the show where you discuss everything you're not supposed to talk about with people inside of a bar. Politics, spirituality, finance, etc. And we are pleased to be joined with radio host Blake Wally. You can find him every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday on freedomizerradio.com. That's freedomizerradio.com from noon until 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Blake is a radio host over there, and he's been kind enough.
Oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt. And there's a podcast available just by going to iTunes and looking up Eccentric Perspective.
Ah, there you go. I haven't done that yet, but you know what I'd like. Yeah, okay, we will have to connect on that as well. But we have started a new account here with Blake. He now is on Twitter, so we're requesting that you follow him. He's at Eccentric99, ECCENTRIC 99, and we are at American_media_. Blake, I want to talk to you about this. This is a story asking which presidential candidate would you trust during an alien invasion? Think about it for a second. So there's a new survey out that definitely shows how Americans feel about what's most certainly the most important issue facing the country. Which candidate is better able to deal with an alien invasion? The results of the 1,114-person survey sponsored by the National Geographic Channel, in concert with its new Chasing UFOs series, offer a decisive victory for President Obama in the extraterrestrial diplomacy arena, a portfolio he has no doubt watched closely during his administration. 65% of survey respondents believe Obama would handle an alien invasion better than Romney. That they survey examined? Yeah, I love when I find typos in other stories. The survey examined other aspects of the American public's relationship with aliens. Selected findings include the following. 36% of Americans think UFOs exist. 11% believe they have personally seen one. 28% think visiting UFO would land in Roswell, New Mexico, beating out Washington, D.C. at 19% as the most likely landing zone. If the traditional intergalactic diplomatic process ran amok and superheroes somehow became real, 21% of respondents would request the Hulk's assistance, 12% would the Flash, though they would flash the bat signal, and 8% would trust Spider-Man. And it goes on, and it's pretty awesome here.
Oh my God! Yeah, I saw a part of that. I didn't see the details that you're talking about.
Okay, then let's break it down piece by piece. Yeah. Let's go piece by piece.
Sure.
Who would you, and we'll give you three choices for president. Who would you trust during an alien invasion? Would you trust Barack Obama, Mitt Romney, or let's say, has Ron Paul officially dropped out of the race, or is he still collecting delegates?
I believe he's still up and running. I haven't heard any word that he has dropped out. So he's still up there just for the delegate stuff.
Interesting.
So it's a possibility. There's a long shot wild card miracle that could go down in Tampa, and I'm still, crossing my fingers. We'll see.
Well, and they're saying that Ron Paul is going to hold a big rally down there prior to the Republican convention in an arena of about 11,000 people. And that he's still pushing forward. I haven't had time to research it. I haven't heard any updates lately. I know that his son Rand Paul endorsed Mitt Romney, but I guess as far as your understanding goes, and you pay attention to these things, your understanding is that Ron Paul is still technically in the race for president.
Yeah, I mean they've kind of dropped off the radar in the media after the Rand Paul bombshell. I'm not seeing as much coverage in the alternative. A lot of people feel betrayed and all that stuff. But as far as I know, he's still technically in the race. I guess he could. Delegates could make, depending on how many delegates are there that are Ron Paul supporters, you could still see some kind of a crazy upset. I guess technically.
Well, then let me ask a scattershot of questions here. Then, which presidential candidate would you trust if there was an alien invasion of the three?
Okay, well, I would definitely not. I don't trust anything that Barack or Mitt Romney say, so that they would be eliminated right away. I wouldn't. Yes, I have no reason to trust them. They would, and for all I know, if there were some hostile aliens, they would probably sell us out. So if they could work a deal out with the aliens, they would probably sell the American people out, for all I know. So that would be my suspicion right away. So I would trust a I don't know. The only people that are running, I think Roseanne Barr just dropped out too. I don't think she's going to get the nomination from the Green Party, if I read her Twitter correctly. So that leaves, so maybe Ron Paul or Gary Johnson are the only two other candidates that would, I guess, I would have to trust those two, one or the other, assuming one of them are in there.
Well, let me ask you this. If you had the choice, because I think how they phrased this was between two people, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, who would you trust more, Mitt Romney or Barack Obama? Alien invasion, you got to pick one. You're
if I have to pick
you
one.
have to pick one.
You know what? I'm going to go with, I'll go with Obama. And it pains me to say that, if you're forcing me to pick between those two. So what would you pick, Brian?
Oh, I would pick Romney. I typically tend to support look, I explain that I'm not Republican, but I am anti-Democrat. You know, because I've seen so much ridiculousness on that side. I occasionally agree with some well-spoken Republicans. I am usually against Democrats, although they try to mix in issues that are common sense, social issues, into really far-reaching, expansive economic policy that I have to disagree with, and it's a sneaky, deceptive way. But I mean, if the election is between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, I hope that Barack Obama is defeated by Mitt Romney. He will not get my support. I will not vote for him, but I hope he proves me wrong, because I've seen enough out of this current president to know he's not the head coach I want with my football team anymore. I'm ready to make a change, and if my only other option is this other guy, then fine. You can't really do much worse than this other guy, but I really don't support either of them. But going through the rest of this here, Blake, do you think UFOs exist?
Absolutely. 100%.
And you live in Vegas. We were in Vegas for a bachelor party, and one of our taxi cab drivers told us a great story about having this guy that called up and asked a really strange question. Could you take me out into the middle of nowhere on this date at this time? Can I pay you for that? And people are like, well, I don't want to get raped or murdered or killed, or, this is a pretty strange request. And he said, no. Look, there's something I need to do. I just need a ride. I can give you all my information up front. You can have two people in the car. That's fine. I'll pay more for it. I just got to get out there. So anyway, they go out there, and the guy, he says, all right, just wait here for a couple hours. I'll be back. And they paid him in advance, and they saw all of this UFO activity right overhead. And then a couple hours later, the guy came back. He's like, all right, time to go. And that's right in your backyard, with Roswell and with Vegas and all of the Southwest. Area 51. Have you ever personally seen a UFO?
No, I have not been, but here, I guess this would be my philosophy on this, is that I'm willing to bet that at least one person on the history of our planet has seen a legitimate UFO. And you could say out of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of stories, I'm going to say at least one person was telling the truth. And I'm going to say, I'll get even bolder. I'll say that at least one person on this planet in the history of our Earth has probably been abducted or been aboard a UFO ship. And I'm going to say that at least one crop circle out of all the thousands of crop circles has been made that with technology that could only be described as alien. Otherwise, the flip side of the argument is you're basically saying that every person on the history of the planet who has ever said they've seen a UFO or been abducted by a UFO or saw a crop circle, you're calling all of those people liars, in my opinion. I have a hard time believing, I'm sure in this vast universe of ours, and we're just like this little primitive species on this little rock flying around the solar system. I'm sure there's a lot more out there that I have a hard time believing that the rest of the universe is just void of any kind of life. It's just empty, or it's just God's way of messing with us to test our faith or whatever. I'm sure there's at least something to that. And in fact, I'll expand on that real quick. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who thinks that there is no such thing as UFOs, and that all people, maybe there's some sincere people that thought they saw a UFO and were mistaken. But I have a hard time believing that if I got into the theoretical, like a hypothetical situation, if I went to Area 51 or if I went to the Pentagon and I went into the deepest levels of like top secret military intelligence, and let's just say they said, hey, we can show you who killed JFK. We can tell you what really happened on 9/11 or what happened at Pearl Harbor. Or they could go into any kind of conspiracy out there and agree with me, or agree that there was a cover-up or on so many issues. But then they're going to tell me, but you know what? Honestly, there's never been any UFO stuff. We've never been encountered a UFO. There's never all that stuff is legitimately made up. So I have a hard time believing that.
In Taos, New Mexico, this was about a year ago, I saw my first UFO, and that means I saw an object that was unidentifiable by me, unlike anything I'd ever seen in the sky, out in the desert, at the Earthship Greater World, the Greater World Earthship community, about 640 acres outside of the resort town of Taos, New Mexico, and it's also in an ancient Indian holy space where they have reservations. I think it's the longest continually habitated area of the United States, civilization dating way, 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 way back. This is an ancient holy space for them. And I saw it was a circle. It was moving very fast. And I heard it, and then I felt it. And I saw it over the Sangre de Cristos Mountains, Blood of Christ Mountains, outside of Taos, New Mexico. And it came across, and I mean, I stopped what I was doing and looked around. I'm like, what in the world? It sounded like a train was coming right for me. And it was right overhead, and it was hauling. I have never seen anything tear through the sky at that clip of speed ever before in my life. It was a circle. It was a ball of light. And I'm just saying it's unidentified. I'm not saying it couldn't be Lockheed Martin. It couldn't be a stealth program of the United States military. I'm just saying I've never seen anything that looks like a circle that rumbles the ground and flies with that immense speed. It blew me away. So I saw something that's a UFO. I'm not saying there was a little green man in it. I'm saying I saw something that was astonishing, but it took me many years to see that. My question is this: which superhero would you pick to help us if superheroes could be picked?
I think it has to be Superman. I don't know why anyone would pick Batman or the Incredible Hulk. Now, I haven't seen some of those. I haven't seen the Spider-Man movies or the Incredible Hulk, whatever those movies are, and I got nothing against them. They're somewhere. I would check them out. But I would think Superman. I mean, why? I mean, I think he would have the most ideal superpowers. I mean, the guy can fly into outer space. He's bulletproof. I think that's a no-brainer. So
he is extraterrestrial. He is an extraterrestrial himself.
Right. Yes, that's good. He's from Krypton.
Yeah, I mean, he could be an ambassador. Those could be his homeboys flying in, looking for him or something. I mean, yeah, if that guy has proven that he's of the human race, he is a fan of the human race, and he protects and defends the human race, yeah, I would go Superman in a heartbeat. I mean, who the heck's picking the Hulk and the Bat Signal and Spider-Man? Are you crazy?
Yeah, I like Batman or Spider-Man as much as the next guy, but I mean, they're not bulletproof. They can't fly through the air without an aircraft or something like that. They're more humanized, where, obviously Superman has got superpowers, and the only thing he's got to worry about is the kryptonite.
Now, where do you think a UFO would land if it was going to land?
Oh boy,
in the United States, could it land at like the Staples Center? And by the way, I think there's an obvious joke that needs to be made about if there's an alien invasion, which president would you pick? Because whether it's an 800,000 illegal alien invasion or whether it's in
you gotta be
the president and his birth
it's
certificate,
illegal alien invasion.
And if you talk about a Kenyan birth certificate issue with the president being an illegal alien, I mean there are plenty of jokes to make in here somewhere. I'm not smart enough or funny enough to make them right now, but someone please provide the punchline in there. But where do you think in the United States it would land? I mean, where do you where are significant points in the United States? You got Washington, you got Roswell. where do you? I'm trying to think this on the fly myself. I don't know.
I would say I would hope DC, and then I hope they have some sort of like transportation technology, much like Star Trek, and they can use their transporter, and they can just maybe just beam up all of the crooked politicians in Washington, and then maybe pay a visit over to Wall Street, and just maybe all these people would just like disappear. John Corzine and Jamie Dimon, and you take most of the Congress with them, and they disappear. We don't know exactly what happened, but I think that would be an interesting ending to all of this nightmare.
But what if those people actually are aliens? And aliens look like humans because, like most major, most major religious texts tend to say that we were created in God's image, whichever God you choose to tend to believe in. So if humankind were created in the Creator's image, and the Creator is not of this planet, from the heavens, therefore extraterrestrial, wouldn't an alien likely look just like us? And couldn't they already be here running government?
Well, I mean, that's, you know what, it's a possibility. I wouldn't, say that that's real or anything, but would I be surprised? No. I mean, if to get into the David Icke stuff, I mean, if Dick Cheney, if I saw Dick Cheney turn into a reptile, would I be surprised? No, not at all. I think that would explain a lot. That would explain so much. Not that I believe that there's aliens walking amongst us, but if there were certain tyrants or something that were aliens, that would not be surprising. That would at least explain a lot and be fairly helpful.
It would explain a lot. I would say if it were going to land, I would pick Burning Man.
That's a good idea. That's a good one. That's not coming up.
I don't know exactly. I've been meaning to make it out to Burning Man. I know there's a cluster, a bit of a mess, a little snafu with their tickets. Yeah, but I mean to land out in the desert with a bunch of interesting people, I could see it landing at Burning Man. That would be fantastic. I mean, DC. By the way, I went to Sedona, Arizona, and I went to a ye old alien shop, and I bought a bumper sticker. I'm looking at it right here in the studio. It says UFOs are real. The government doesn't exist.
Huh.
It's really bizarre, but I'm staring at it as I'm talking to you, so I figured I'd mention that.
Yeah.
79% of the American public believe the U.S. government has kept information about UFOs secret. Do you concur?
Yeah, like I said, I have a hard time. Let's say half the conspiracies out there are real. Like, imagine going like the basement of Area 51, if there is such a basement, and getting into every single government file. Let's say let's say you're a hacker and you went in there and you found, oh my God, that's what really happened with JFK. That's what really happened on 9/11. That's what really happened at the Gulf of Tonkin. Or you went through every government conspiracy and you found out that the quote, the truth, potentially, and then they're going to say, oh, but there's absolutely nothing about aliens. I have a hard time believing that there's not some information that's being covered up somewhere. Not that I've ever been a witness of a UFO or not, but just with the numbers, it seems very plausible.
I would agree. Now, if this were to happen, would you try to befriend a little green man? Would you run away? Would you just lock your door? What would you do if this happened?
I can't. I don't know if I would actually, freak out or not. That's kind of one of those things that, paranormal things would kind of disturb me, I guess, on that level. I'm not really sure if I would just, would I just like pass out if I saw one? I can't answer that. So I don't know. I would like to be friendly or something, but I think that would probably be in our best interests. But I really don't know how I would respond. I mean, what if you were? I mean, I don't know. Would you just go into shock with your hair turn white? Or I don't know if it would be that dramatic, but I don't know.
I would fire up and do a radio show. I'd connect with people I know and talk. Yeah, I'd go to different time zones and bring different people in and say, what's going on over there? You guys still alive? Okay. What do you think? I would have a conversation with a bunch of people for as far as what I'm saying. And the survey is showing that most Americans believe that intelligent alien civilizations have visited our planet. Do you believe that?
Absolutely.
And what about, have they left behind evidence of previous sites?
Well, I think Roswell is a big one. I think that one's pretty obvious that something happened there, and there was a big cover up there.
I think they're talking, they mentioned specifically Stonehenge, the Egyptian pyramids, you know, like things like Easter Island, things that they've left behind is kind of clear. Or the Nazca
yes,
lines
a lot of those
in
structures. Very good. Yes, a lot of those structures were built around a similar time period, several thousand years ago. You got the pyramids, you got Machu Picchu, you've got Stonehenge, like you said. There's all kinds of structures over in East Asia, or you even mentioned, I don't know about Eastern Ireland, if I would put that in that same category, but certainly there's wondrous architecture and things that are way out of our league that were built around the same time from completely isolated civilizations from around the world. So yes, I do believe that there is a possibility that there even could be a possibility that that's the missing link. I mean, there's no missing link between us and, say, the apes or whatever, and I'm not really sure if I believe that we come from there, but maybe that explains that, you know, maybe we have some alien DNA. I don't know. We could go into that. That's another big story. And it's all hypothetical, but I think there's a lot more to the history of this planet than is being reported. I think a lot of it, and not to throw the Catholic Church under the bus, but I think they had a hand to play in kind of changing some of our history. And I think there's a lot, there's potential, there's wondrous things that we have Lemuria, Atlantis, and you know, whether there's alien civilizations, Nazca lines, there's another one. There's certainly evidence to show that there may have been an advanced race on this earth at one point. I don't think it's that far-fetched.
Well, I can certainly respect that, and I love the fact that people are finally talking about this. I think it's great that people are finally considering it. And Blake, you know, I wanted to thank you for being a part of the program today. It's always good to have you, and you can check Blake out. He does live radio shows on freedomizerradio.com every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific. You can also find him on his new place. He's on Twitter. Go follow him. Click that little follow button. He is at Eccentric99. That's ECCENTRIC 99. And you can follow him there. My name is Brian Engelman. This is the Agree to Disagree program. You can, if you're listening after the fact, please click subscribe on the YouTube page. We appreciate that. We've really only started pushing this recently, and we've quickly gone from 7,000 to 21,000 video views, and from about 20 subscribers to 130 something. And we're just getting warmed up. This is going to be a really fun ride. So thank you for joining us and supporting us on the way. So Blake, as we're wrapping this up here, we know you got a few things you got to run and do. You got any final words for everybody?
Well, I do want to thank you for inviting me, yes, to be on the show again. Pleasure as always, and I'm hoping you will join me on Monday as well. And for all of you, you don't have to catch the show live. It'd be awesome if you do or want to participate, but you can always get the podcast, like I said, at iTunes and Eccentric Perspective. You can also check out my website, which I haven't updated in a while, but you might find some interesting material there. That's eccentricperspective.com. And I guess what I want to tie into one thing. We're talking about just how completely insane things are in the world. It's surreal. It's absurd. It's not. And did you ever see that movie Vanilla Sky?
I have not, but that was.
I was going to tie
what was that? Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise thing together.
Kubrick.
Started with
a Kubrick, right?
No, that's
Eyes Wide Shut. Okay, so what was Vanilla Sky? All right, paint the picture.
Vanilla
Maybe some of our listeners don't know.
Yeah, it's another Tom Cruise movie where he's kind of where things are getting absolutely crazy in his own world. Like you can't really believe that the kinds of things that are actually happening are like, and things continue to get more and more absurd, and you can't really accept it anymore. And then at one point, he just starts screaming. I guess he's part of some program, but he just starts running around screaming for tech support. And then this person shows up who's like a tech support, and he takes him out of the nightmare and brings him back to the reality that is the planet. Sometimes I just kind of saying I kind of feel that way. Like I just want to start screaming for tech support. Like what went wrong? What happened in the last 20 years of America? Something that isn't right. It's almost like a nightmare you want to wake up from, and it's unfortunate. But we can take this back. I'm very optimistic about it. But we certainly got a lot of challenges ahead of us.
Well, you know, you talk about it, it's kind of like the Matrix, you know,
right.
Kind of getting out of this designed infrastructure, all of the protocol, all of the stuff the operating code. But some
Very
people
symbolic.
say,
Excellent movie. Yes,
absolutely, and that's one I was hoping that we could connect on there because I didn't see Vanilla Sky yet. But a lot of people say that's what a connection with the divine is. As above, so below. Most of the major texts talk about people descending from the heavens, that we're created in the Maker's image. What does that mean? I mean, whether it's Doctor Who, by the way, if you're not watching Doctor Who, you should check it out because I love the show.
good show.
Absolutely getting into sci-fi right now.
Been on for decades.
Oh, yeah, and then they brought it back, and then they get to replace their doctors. It's really sweet. But, the concept of calling out, for tech support, what's the difference between calling out and prayer? Maybe they're not all answered. Maybe some people said that the founding fathers were deists, that they said, okay, well, maybe something created us, but they're not omnipotent, they're not omniscient. They just, it's like an irresponsible father that knocks a few kids out there, disappears, and then leaves the other families to deal with the consequences and never comes back. It's like, yeah, I knocked up a few people, I had a few illegitimate children, and I don't care. Some people say God was that. They created the human race and took off, like, peace out. Or maybe, like every major religion says, I will return, whether it's Christ or whether it's down at Chichen Itza or whether it's, you talk about the Mayans,
we
the
could
Native
spend
Americans.
2 hours talking about
Absolutely,
all that stuff.
but calling out for tech support might be calling out for prayer and saying, excuse me, creator of the universe.
Right.
Could I get a little assistance here? I'm trying to be a good guy. I'm in a bind. Can you please help me? And that's a concept that God is a good force that helps people that are willing to help themselves versus a malevolent force or a completely absentee father. It's interesting to ponder.
Yeah, good stuff to leave out on, Brian. And yeah, once again, thank you for being on the show. Maybe we can get into some of these concepts a little bit more on Monday.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, we have been doing a regular guest hosting gig over. So I'm the co-host with Blake's program on Freedomizer Radio. You can find him on Freedomizer Radio Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, noon to 1:30. We've definitely been doing the Mondays and trying to keep those consistent. However, we also added a Thursday show yesterday, which is a lot of fun. We definitely enjoy connecting with your audience. Get a lot of live phone calls and a lot of texting going on, and it's great meeting your crew, and we hope that our fans can come find you and your fans can come find us. So, Blake, thank you for your time. You have a great weekend, sir. Let's connect again on Monday.
Sounds good, Brian. You have an excellent weekend as well.
All right, thank you very much. That was Blake Wally. Blake he's becoming a good friend of the program. That much is certain. And as we said, we co-host with him, and he is joining our show, co-hosting with us. So thank you very much for listening. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and press pause on the Agree to Disagree program. Not pause. We're going to press stop. We're going to shift gears here for a second. I'm going to plant my foot and take a pivot. We're going to go in a different direction. We're going to go from politics and spirituality and the history of humankind, and we're going to go back to sports for a second because I find it quite interesting. We do a show called The Unhappy Hour. It's based on a Cleveland sports fan's perspective. Fan of the Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Cavaliers, Cleveland Browns. I mean, we have been just hit over the head repeatedly with John Elway's 98-yard drive, Ernest Biner's phantom fumble, the owner of the Browns, Art Modell, stealing the franchise, taking it to Baltimore, and winning a Super Bowl a couple of years later in another city, being the only team in Major League Baseball history with the Cleveland Indians to take a Game 7 ninth-inning lead and blow it and lose a World Series. We talked with John Telich with Fox 8 Cleveland, 10-time Emmy Award winner, who was down there in Miami of all cities. And he was in the locker room, and they wheeled in the baseball trophy, the championship trophy, and then they covered up all of the lockers with plastic. And then when they blew the lead and then eventually lost the game, they went and wheeled the trophy out and took down the plastic and went and partied in the Miami locker room. And he watched all this going, "You've got to be kidding me." This isn't just a decade or two of futility in one major sport. This is since 1964. Cleveland has not celebrated a major sports championship. This is a big deal if you're a sports fan. And we do this sports show every week. And, I'm really surprised. We talk about important issues like Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, whatever you choose to define it as. We talk about issues like the National Defense Authorization Act that can black bag and just kidnap American citizens on suspicion without trial indefinitely. that both Mitt Romney and Barack Obama support. Really important, dangerous things going on in the country today. The collapse of the Eurozone and what that could mean, the Federal Reserve and the value of money and what that could mean for Medicare and your parents' and grandparents' retirement savings. We talk about important stuff. But our busiest, most highly trafficked and contested segment, the hottest segment that we did is titled Cleveland sports fan Brian Engelman reacts to LeBron winning a championship with the Heat. 7 dislikes. 7 dislikes. And we've lost track. We have 50 different comments. This is, what, in a week? When was this put up? On June 23rd? Yeah, less than a week. 50 comments in a week. Oh, and we got some great comments here. CR9 Madrid 89 says, karma is a bitch. Hey, keep it classy. Keep it classy, Miami. Keep it classy, San Diego. You know, to quote Anchorman, Will Ferrell, keep it classy, San Diego. Yeah, I mean, we're just getting hammered over here for being Cleveland Cavalier fans that were burned by LeBron James. And just all of the commentary, I'm not going to get into it right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to press pause. We're going to switch over to the Unhappy Hour program for today, Friday, June 29th, 2012. And I'm going to take a few seconds to respond to some of these comments. I mean, I get the thing where Cleveland Browns fans don't like Pittsburgh Steelers fans, but I don't really dislike those people. I just root against your team. And I give you a little bit of grief, but I don't legitimately wish ill will upon you. You know, there was recently a story, Brian Stowe, a San Francisco Giants fan, was beaten into a coma. He's never going to be the same. He has a family. Beaten into a coma by 2 dirtbag Dodger fans. You know, sports can be something you root for, but you don't actually go that far as to legitimately hate other people or commit acts of violence against people. You know, but I mean, just the general tone and anger and, I don't know, just the general tone coming from people regarding this segment that we posted. Cleveland sports fan Brian Engelman, myself, hello, hi, nice to meet you, reacts to LeBron winning a championship with the Heat. 50 comments. So we're going to address this. We did a special show on the Unhappy Hour yesterday that was regarding the NBA draft. We had lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout Zach Barris. We broke down pick by pick and what it means for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So please click on those. We put up part 1 of 4, and the next will be coming in the next day or so. We're going to mix these all down and put them up on YouTube. So please click subscribe if you're out there watching on YouTube after the fact. We certainly appreciate it. And, you know, we want to have a mostly civil conversation and talk about this stuff. You know, there's no reason that Ron Paul supporters who are Miami Heat fans can't talk to Ron Paul supporters who are Cleveland Cavalier fans. You know, there's no reason why Barack Obama supporters that are Pittsburgh Steelers fans can't talk to Barack Obama supporters that are Baltimore Raven fans. You know, I mean, pick your city, pick your team, pick your candidate, pick your politician, doesn't matter. I mean, we need to be able to talk. You know, part of this going back to sports and tying it together with politics is we want the conversation. We want to have this chat. So we're going to address it. You know, we appreciate all of the comments. Well, we appreciate most of the comments. A couple of them we don't appreciate, but we'll address them. We'll go through and talk about some of them because they took the time to comment, and we've taken the time to comment back. And here we are. You know, I mean, we're talking sports, but we don't have these same people leaving comments about the National Defense Authorization Act or the fact that Fukushima is still unstable and could be spewing toxic junk into everybody's food, water, and air supply. That's important. We're not talking about the Muslim Brotherhood taking over Egypt. Oh, we better keep an eye out on that, folks. And not enough people are talking about Eric Holder and Fast and Furious, where we're arming our enemies on the southern border to get high-powered weapons to shoot at U.S. Border Patrol agents and kill Brian Terry. Republican, Democrat, I don't care about that. I care about what in the hell are they talking about? Really, that stuff's happening in America? It is. Yet what most people want to talk about is sports. So, you know, my query, my proposal, my question, my proposal, my offer to the people that have commented on this, I hope you will listen to this episode coming up. And join us in our conversation about politics, about finance. Keep it mostly civil, though. You know, like let's agree to disagree. We don't need to be jerks. We don't need to rub stuff in. I mean, come on. If you're saying from 1964 to what, 74, 84, 94, 04, almost 14, almost 50 years. 48 years of sports futility, misery, close but not close enough, only to watch LeBron James win a championship in Miami after giving up on Cleveland, giving up on Ohio, giving up on the Cavs organization. A lot of people are trying to rewrite history and just badmouth the city, the team, the franchise, and it's just there's a lot of factually incorrect material floating out there, and I just want to set the record straight on some of it. And some of it's legitimate. I never liked when Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cavaliers, guaranteed that the Cavaliers will win a championship before the Miami Heat. Come on. Given the state of things, when you're losing all of your team, all-stars Zydrunas Ilgauskas, all-star Mo Williams, all-star Shaquille O'Neal, you're getting rid of the coach of the year and the executive of the year and Mike Brown and Danny Ferry, you just gut your entire team and lose the two-time most valuable player, you're going to have a rough season or two. And people are saying, well, look at who they surrounded LeBron with. They took LeBron away, and then they lost the most games in the league. It's way more complex than that. I get what you're saying. But I never liked Gilbert saying that a team in that such a lousy position is going to win a championship quicker than the Miami Heat. I'm not saying that. I never liked that comment, but I will defend what they did do. And so we'll get into that in just a second. Thank you so much for listening. My name's Brian Engelman. We are going to transition over now to the Unhappy Hour on the New American Media.com.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on the New American Media.com.
You were listening to the Unhappy Hour sports radio show on the New American Media.com.
Follow the New American Media.com on Twitter at American_Media_.
This is the New American Media. Agree to Disagree. Yeah, it's a radio show we have on thenewamericanmedia.com every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Join the show. What do we talk about? Politics, religion, and spirituality. Basically anything you're not supposed to talk about in a bar. You're not supposed to have these conversations inside of a bar, but we have them every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific on thenewamericanmedia.com. Join the show, offer your opinion, and let's agree to disagree, but let's have a good conversation.
Have you ever considered adopting a pet to be part of your family? Our animal companions can be just as close to us as our human companions. If you're considering adoption, please visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. Shelter pets make the best pets.
Hi, Brian from the newamericanmedia.com. Last year I had this idea. I wanted to start a website of my own, not just something, a presence on Twitter, a presence on Facebook, and have a thing. I wanted a website. I wanted a home base for all of the ideas and things I'm interested in. I wanted live radio. I wanted to communicate with the globe. I was tired of being spoon-fed dogma by corporate interests and just, here, believe this, believe this. I said, no, I think there's something underneath the surface, but I didn't know how to do it. So I contacted Ted Distel of disteldesign.com. Ted walked us through the process of, okay, you want videos, you want to do quotes of the day, you want to have a spiritual section, you want to have a 1984 watch where government's intruding and private corporations are intruding into your privacy. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in. Ted walked me through the process. We built thenewamericanmedia.com, and I encourage you to go online and take a look at our site. That's what he's capable of. Please, if you have an idea, go to disteldesign.com. That's DISTEL design.com. TNAM Radio, because the news always matters. Hi, Brian from the newamericanmedia.com. You know, this housing crisis that we've been in for a few years now has really taken a toll on a lot of families. I know somebody you've worked with, somebody that you're related to, maybe even yourself. You might have gone through some sort of foreclosure, short sale, deed in lieu of foreclosure, or any other nonsense going on in the financial markets tied to housing. One of the things that is not talked about enough is the fact that a lot of people have to get rid of their homes right now and go into some sort of apartment-style living. And in that situation, many people can't bring their cat or dog, their friend,
their companion, a member of their family. Imagine your dog, imagine your cat, dropped off at a shelter. Oh, it's a shelter. They'll be safe. No, the shelters just don't have the resources capable to take care of these animals, and thousands of them are put to death every single week. Please, if you have the opportunity, go become a foster parent at a shelter. Go to your local shelter, adopt a dog or cat. Trust me, a family out there is going to really appreciate the effort.
If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com. Be sure that you go on to facebook.com and do a quick search for The New American Media and like our page, because we like it when you do that.